Welcome folks, I've come to a very sunny Cligga Head today, and Cligga Head is a small peninsula on the north coast of Cornwall, a very tiny granite outcrop there, and we'll have a look at some more bits and pieces in a minute from that. But actually the first thing I've seen is barely 50 yards from the car park, and it's this mine shaft, and you can see what we've got here is a backfilled mine shaft that has collapsed. And it's quite common to see mine shafts like this that have collapsed. You can see the ground around it has been recently cleared and this fence erected to stop people from going in there. I don't remember that last time I came, so I suspect that's very recent, and looking at the timber it looks very recent. So what's happened here? Why has this mine shaft collapsed? Well, I suspect that that this shaft was backfilled when it was when it stopped being used at some stage after it was abandoned, and they probably pushed all of the material from around the shaft in. So most shafts have a cone of material around the top that actually came out of the shaft originally, and that's all of the material that wasn't used by the miners. And I suspect what's happened is that that material has been pushed back in and has filled up the shaft. But of course, with a lot of these shafts, the shaft was would have had timber staging in it. There might be water at the bottom, because certainly the mine here is very close to the sea and goes out beneath the sea, so the bottom part of the shaft would have been below water, and if that water's flowing it can erode away at the bottom of the fill. If it's got timber staging in, that timber staging might have been there for 200, might have been there for 500 years, and will eventually go rotten, and that will cause the material to fall down the shaft. And it might just be that the material put into the shaft bridged over, caught up on the sides of the shaft where it narrowed and bridged over, and eventually that has collapsed with the weight of material on the top of it. There's a lot of shafts collapsed this year because of the wet winter that we've had, and it's a problem that you find with the material can increase by up to sort of 30% in mass when it becomes completely saturated. And yeah, clearly what's happened here is this shaft was fully filled. You can see the lack of vegetation around the edge there, which would imply that the shaft has collapsed fairly recently. And what's happened is the material inside the shaft has just sunk down slightly and found a new equilibrium. Of course, if it was timber staging that's collapsed, it might mean that it's going to collapse further. So in this case, it looks like the parish council has done this. They've done a very good job fencing this off to make it safe so that nobody can get to it. Yeah, I just wanted to show you what a shaft looks like when it collapses. Why it's really important to make sure, if you're buying a property in Cornwall, that you do a mine search, because could you imagine the damage that would be done if that had collapsed underneath your house or underneath your garage or even underneath your garden? The consequences don't bear thinking about, do they? So there we go folks, that's a collapsed mine shaft here at Cligga Head in Cornwall. I hope you've enjoyed that one, just a very short one, and stay safe and have a great day. Cheers.